Imagine a moment of terror: a car skids on black ice, a cliffside path crumbles beneath your feet, a terminal diagnosis is delivered. In each scenario, death looms. But what if, in the quantum fabric of reality, every potential outcome branches into a new universe? What if your consciousness, tethered to the thread of survival, always follows the path where you live, where the car swerves safely, the ground holds firm, the cells refuse to metastasize? This is the paradox of quantum immortality, a thought experiment suggesting that consciousness might experience eternal survival. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every decision, every accident, every heartbeat spawns a new universe. If you die in one branch, your awareness shifts to a branch where you live. Thus, death becomes an illusion. Subjectively, you never die. The paradox is unsettling because it inverts our understanding of mortality. We fear death as an end, but quantum immortality posits that it is merely a branching away. The mind recoils: if I can't die, what is life? If every death is just a divergence, am I truly alive, or a ghost haunting infinite realities? Explanation of the concept. The paradox is rooted in Hugh Everett III's many worlds interpretation, MWI, proposed in 1957. MWI suggests that quantum superpositions don't collapse into a single outcome but instead branch into parallel universes. Every quantum event, like the decay of a radioactive atom or the flip of a coin, creates new realities. Quantum immortality extends this idea to consciousness. 1. Conscious survival. When faced with death, e.g., a fatal accident, quantum mechanics posits that the universe splits. In one branch, you die; in another, you survive. Your consciousness, tied to the act of observation, cannot perceive the death branch, it follows the survival path. 2. Subjective immortality. Over time, your subjective experience would be one of endless survival. Every near-death moment branches, and you always wake up in a world where you live. This creates a personal immortality, though objectively, countless versions of you die in other branches. 3. The observer's perspective. The paradox hinges on consciousness as an observer. If consciousness chooses the branch it inhabits, via quantum decoherence or some unknown mechanism, then death is never experienced, it is always elsewhere. Philosopher Max Tegmark has explored this idea, suggesting that a being with quantum immortality would perceive time as a series of alive moments, never encountering its demise. The paradox is not that you're immortal in a single universe, but that your consciousness perpetually follows the threads of survival across infinite realities. Exploration of implications. Quantum immortality is not merely a scientific hypothesis, it is a philosophical earthquake, upending our understanding of mortality, meaning, and free will. 1. The illusion of death. If death is subjective, it becomes a narrative construct rather than an absolute truth. You might witness others die, but your consciousness would never confront mortality. This mirrors the simulation hypothesis, segment 5. If reality is layered, death is just a transition between layers. 2. Ethics and behavior. The paradox raises moral quandaries. Would knowing of immortality lead to recklessness? A person might risk extreme actions, confident they'll survive in some branch. Conversely, might it breed existential dread? If every death is just a branching away, does life lose its urgency? 3. The burden of survival. Immortality could be a prison of repetition. You might relive the same choices, forever escaping consequences. Imagine a gambler who always wins, a climber who never falls. Eternal survival could become a loop of diminishing returns. 4. The paradox of meaning. If death is avoidable, what defines achievement or sacrifice? A hero's bravery becomes irrelevant if survival is guaranteed. Conversely, if ever you dies in some branch, does your existence dilute into infinity? 5. The subjective universe. The paradox suggests consciousness shapes reality. Your survival is not a physical inevitability but a perceptual one, you experience only the branches where you live. This echoes the observer effect in quantum mechanics, segment 6, where observation collapses possibilities into reality. 6. The comfort of denial. The paradox offers a strange reassurance: death is not an end but a divergence. Yet, this comfort is double-edged. If you can't die, do you truly live? Or are you a ghost, eternally skirting oblivion? 7. The illusion of progress. Quantum immortality implies that consciousness is a narrative thread stitching together survival branches. Your life is a story told by the paths you follow, not a fixed timeline. This mirrors the ship of Theseus, Segment 1, identity persists through continuity, even as physical forms perish. 8. The cosmic scale of survival. The paradox parallels the bootstrap paradox. Segment 2, survival becomes a self-referential loop. Just as the ship of Theseus is preserved through replacement, your consciousness is preserved through branching. 9. The ethical dilemma of awareness. If you knew of immortality, would it paralyze you with indecision? Or would it empower you to pursue risks? The paradox mirrors the paradox of choice. Segment 16, infinite survival might lead to infinite stagnation. 10. The limits of empathy. You might witness others die, yet know that you can't. This creates a dissonance between personal immortality and collective mortality. Could this breed detachment or guilt? Transition to the next segment. Quantum immortality asks, can consciousness cheat death? The paradox of self-reference asks, can a system define itself without contradiction? Imagine a dictionary that defines words using other words. What defines the dictionary itself? This is the paradox of self-reference, a contradiction where systems rely on their existence to exist. Both paradoxes deal with boundaries, one about the limits of survival, the other about the limits of meaning. Quantum immortality's branching realities and the self-referential system's circular definitions both reveal that existence requires exclusion. To survive, you must exclude death's branches. To exist, a system must exclude self-contradiction. The paradox of quantum immortality is a dance with infinity. The paradox of self-reference is a dance with logic. Both remind us that existence is a fragile balance of inclusion and exclusion, survival and contradiction. As we turn to the paradox of self-reference, we shift from the cosmic scale of branching universes to the microcosm of definitions. Quantum immortality's immortality is a subjective illusion. The self-referential paradox's definition is an objective one. Both ask, what must be excluded for something to exist? Expanded exploration of quantum immortality. The anatomy of consciousness. The paradox hinges on consciousness as an observer. If consciousness selects the branch it inhabits, it becomes both participant and architect. This mirrors the role of the observer in quantum mechanics, Segment 6, where measurement collapses possibilities. Consider a thought experiment. You stand at the edge of a cliff, preparing to jump. In MWI, the act creates two branches, one where you leap and die, and one where you step back. If your consciousness follows the survival branch, you'll always choose to step back. Over time, you might feel invincible, never encountering a path where you perish. The illusion of progress. Quantum immortality could lead to a paradox of stagnation. If every risk is avoided, because the dying you exists elsewhere, life becomes a series of near misses without consequence. A gambler might bet everything, knowing they'll always win in some branch, but in others, they lose everything. The subjective you would only experience the wins, creating a delusion of invincibility. The burden of subjectivity. Imagine a person who, over decades, survives every catastrophe, accident, and illness. They might grow weary of the endless near-death loops, yearning for meaning beyond mere survival. The paradox becomes a Sisyphean curse, forever pushing the boulder up the hill of existence, only to repeat it in infinite branches. Ethical implications. Risk-taking and responsibility. If you can't die, is there accountability for dangerous actions? A driver who speeds might feel invulnerable, ignoring consequences. Moral relativity. If countless versions of you commit atrocities in other branches, does your subjective survival absolve guilt? Or does it amplify it, knowing others suffer in your name? The paradox of meaning. If life is endless survival, what gives it purpose? A person might seek meaning in branching realities, exploring every possible path, but this could lead to nihilism. If every outcome is possible, why choose? The connection to quantum mechanics. The paradox is a thought experiment, not proven science. Critics argue that consciousness cannot choose branches, and subjective immortality lacks empirical evidence. Yet, it remains a compelling metaphor for the fragility of existence. The comfort of denial. The paradox offers a strange solace: death is not an end but a divergence. Yet, it also strips mortality's urgency. Without the finality of death, why strive? Why love? Why anything? The illusion of control. Like the halting problem, segment 14, quantum immortality suggests limits to control. You can't choose which survival branch to follow, only experience them. Your choices are illusions, the branching happens regardless. The paradox of self-awareness. If you know of immortality, it might unravel the paradox. Anticipating survival, you might take risks, yet the branching still occurs. The knowledge could become a self-fulfilling loop: you believe you can't die, so you don't, yet others around you do. The cosmic scale of survival. The paradox mirrors the simulation hypothesis, segment 5. If this universe is a simulation, your survival could be programmed into the code. Or, as in the bootstrap paradox, segment 2, your immortality is a self-caused loop. Transition to the next segment. Quantum immortality asks, can consciousness outlive death? The paradox of self-reference asks, can a system define itself without contradiction? Imagine a dictionary that defines dictionary as a book of definitions. The definition relies on the word itself, creating a loop. This is the paradox of self-reference, a contradiction where meaning depends on circularity. Like quantum immortality, it deals with boundaries, one about the survival of consciousness, the other about the survival of meaning. Both require exclusion to exist. Immortality excludes death's branches, self-reference excludes contradiction's branches. The paradox of quantum immortality is a dance with infinity, the self-referential paradox is a dance with logic. Both remind us that existence is a fragile balance of inclusion and exclusion, survival and contradiction. As we turn to the paradox of self-reference, we shift from the cosmic scale of branching realities to the microcosm of definitions. Quantum immortality's immortality is a subjective illusion, the self-referential paradox's definition is an objective one. Both ask, what must be excluded for something to exist? This expansion weaves quantum immortality into a meditation on consciousness, ethics, and the nature of existence. It avoids bullet points by using narrative and philosophical exploration, maintaining the reflective tone. The transition bridges seamlessly to the paradox of self-reference by contrasting subjective immortality with objective self-definition.